Have you ever wondered why these massive, multi-million-dollar construction projects just go completely off the rails? Well, it's almost never about a flaw in the actual design. It's all about data. So today, we're diving into the solution, the Common Data Environment, or CDE, and we're going to look at the major showdown between the UK's super strict mandated blueprint and the US's much more flexible tech-first approach. Let's get right into it.
Okay, this statement right here, this is the key to, well, everything. A totally brilliant architectural design can absolutely collapse under the weight of bad information. Just picture it, a beautiful skyscraper, but it's built on a foundation of scattered, disorganized, and conflicting paperwork. That chaos, that's exactly the problem the CDE was created to fix.
And yeah, this is what that chaos actually looks like on the ground. You've got someone building from the wrong version of a drawing, nobody knows who approved what, critical info is buried somewhere in a 10-mile-long email chain. Look, these aren't just little hiccups. These are the things that cause massive delays, blow up budgets, and can sink a project.
So, now that we've seen the problem, total information chaos, let's get to the solution. What exactly is a common data environment? So, according to the international standard, ISO 19650, it's a shared digital space where all your information is handled through a controlled process. But listen, don't mistake this for just a shared Dropbox folder. The magic word here is controlled. It's a highly structured system with really strict rules that's designed for the wild complexity of a construction project.
So really, the whole point of a CDE is to make sure every single piece of information has these four qualities. It's controlled, so you know exactly who can see it and who can edit it. It's versioned, so you're never accidentally using an old file. It's approved, meaning there's a clear digital paper trail, and it's accessible to the right people right when they need it.
Okay, now let's see how this all works in the real world. We're going to start with the UK, which has one of the most structured, process-focused approaches you'll find anywhere.
And this is absolutely key for major public projects over in the UK. Using a CDE that follows these standards isn't just a good idea, it's a hard requirement. The government literally mandated it to stop wasting taxpayer money on projects that failed because of bad information.
This slide just nails the difference, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the chaos we all know too well. Different teams are looking at different plans, creating huge risks. And then on the right, you have the goal. One single source of truth, where everyone, from the architect to the subcontractor on site, is working from the exact same approved information.
This little quote from the UK BIM framework, it's basically the mantra for the whole system. See, it's not just about having the information somewhere. It's about having a system that actively delivers the right version to the right person at the right moment. It's about making sure a plumber can't see an unapproved architectural drawing or an electrician isn't using an outdated schematic. It's all about control.
And this right here, this is the engine that drives the whole UK process. Under ISO 19650, information has to move through four very distinct stages. It starts in work in progress, where teams can mess around with ideas privately. Only when it's ready does it move to shared, for other teams to see. Once it's approved, it goes to published, where it's ready for construction. This workflow is what prevents unfinished or unapproved data from ever getting used on site.
Okay, so this brings up a really practical question, one that trips up a lot of teams. You know, if the architect has a system and the engineer has a different one, can't we just use both?
The UK standard is, well, crystal clear on this. Nope. The entire point is to have one single source of truth. Now, you can have different systems that connect to create a single environment, but you absolutely cannot have separate disconnected pools of data. That would just defeat the whole purpose.
All right, now let's hop across the Atlantic. The United States is trying to get to the same goal, data control. But as you're about to see, it has taken a very different, much more flexible and market-driven path to get there.
So in the US, there isn't one big government-mandated standard like there is in the UK. Instead, the industry kind of relies on a mix of guidelines from groups like the National Institute of Building Sciences and the American Institute of Architects. It's way less about a top-down rule and more about industry best practices, which, reflects a more decentralized, free market kind of culture.
So what does that actually mean for a real project? Well, it means the idea of a CDE is pretty much defined by the software that the project team is using. The technology itself provides the framework for managing all that information. And you've probably heard of these guys. Platforms like Autodesk Construction Cloud, Procore, and Bluebeam have basically become the default CDEs on most US projects. They give you that controlled, versioned, and accessible environment by managing everything, from 3D models and drawings to things like submittals and RFIs, all inside one big digital ecosystem. So if we had to boil the UK approach down to just one idea, it's this. It is fundamentally process-driven. The standard and the workflow come first, and any technology you use has to fit into that process.
On the flip side, the US approach is primarily tool-driven. The features and capabilities of the software platform you choose often end up defining the process for the whole project team. The tool really shapes the workflow.
And this table just lays it all out, side by side. You've got the UK, driven by a mandated process, but the risk there is that it can be implemented too rigidly, Then you have the US, driven by flexible technology, but the risk there is inconsistency and big headaches trying to get different systems to talk to each other.
Okay, so after comparing these two powerful but really different models, what's the most important thing to walk away with? What's the core truth here?
And this is the question, isn't it? You're probably sitting there wondering, okay, so which one is better? Is it the rigid UK blueprint, or is the flexible US platform model the way to go?
But here's the answer, and it's probably the most important thing to get from all of this. It's kind of the wrong question. Success isn't really about the specific tool you use or the exact standard you follow. It's about the discipline your team has to maintain structure and control over your project information.
And that's why it's so important to remember this. A common data environment is a concept first, and a product second. It is the foundational discipline for how you manage project data. The platform? Well, that's just the place where that discipline gets put into action.
So, we're going to leave you with this one simple truth. It really doesn't matter what country you're in or what software you use. The iron law of construction is this. If your information is not controlled, your project is not controlled. It really is as simple as that.